Christian Pulisic is all but a Milan player. We're expecting him to be presented tomorrow officially. You can already buy a shirt in the club shop. Of course, this move has been speculated a lot over the last couple of weeks, but it looks like finally Chelsea and Milan have come to an agreement to sign the US international. Now, he sat down and spoke exclusively to Graham Hunter for ESPN.
Could you have been given more opportunities, a better, regular, fair chance to prove yourself on the pitch for your previous club?
Of course, I'd like to think so. Of course, you know, there were definitely times where I wish I could have gotten that, you know, more of an opportunity and been that guy. But yeah, for whatever reason, that's not the case. And like I said, I'm just so excited for this new challenge, and I'm definitely ready and up for it.
Now, you can see more of that exclusive interview tomorrow in its entirety on ESPN FC. And just a reminder, ESPN FC is presented by Frito-Lay. Well, let's welcome in, shall we? Julien Laurens and Mark Ogden join us. But, Stevie, I want to start with you. Do you think he deserved more playing time at Chelsea?
I don't actually think he can, hand on heart, turn round and say he wasn't given an opportunity. You know, he was. I think, unfortunately, at the very beginning of his time, when he was getting a run of games and he actually was doing well, he would get injured.
Right.
And so eventually, you, as a coach and a manager and a staff, it becomes old news when somebody is playing 3 or 4 games and then gets injured, and then 3 or 4 games and gets injured. And then, of course, towards the end of his time, when he was playing, again, hand on heart, was he making an impact? Not really. So I don't think he can sit honestly and say that Chelsea weren't fair with him. He had opportunities and he just never quite took them.
Every time we see him in that interview, even that little snippet there, kind of encapsulated quite well. He seems quite timid, yeah? And I'm just wondering, is he the sort of player to be knocking on the manager's door? To be saying, why aren't I playing?
You know, I actually don't agree with that. You know, people, not just you saying that, but a lot of people say that. He comes across as timid. He's not timid on the field of play. We've seen him getting hit. We've seen him taking the knocks. We've seen him having the bit between his teeth.
Do you not think do you think we see more of that in a US shirt than we do domestically, because he likes everything that goes with the fact that he's the man. Well, he's the man with America. He's not the man with Chelsea. He wasn't the man with Dortmund.
Well, I think by the end at Chelsea, when you're stepping on the field and you're lacking confidence and you're unsure, it becomes very difficult.
Right.
And I think that's why, to begin with, go from Dortmund to Chelsea. Right, this is me. I'm ready. You're firing. You're in the blocks. You're ready to go. And then eventually, when all the stuff happens, the injuries happen, then you're not getting quite as much playing time. It kind of sucks the energy out of you a little bit. So,
but yeah, as a professional, don't you need to find that energy? Don't you have to be self-sufficient in that sense?
So if I'm to write a book of what you should and shouldn't do and what's the right thing to do and what not to do, it's not quite as easy as that. It doesn't work that way. Real life, Dan, doesn't work that way. Again, the theory and the practical are 2 different things. Somebody tell me why a player like Pulisic, when he starts at Chelsea, has all that desire I was talking about and the fire and taking the knocks, and then by the end, when he's not getting a game, it's just not quite the same. That's part of the problem with football, is that it's not quite as easy to follow the playbook. It's not straightforward. And that's why we have players who we talk about as being fantastic, who every time they step on the field are the best in the world, who, when you see their goal-scoring record, is unbelievable. That's why these guys get paid 300 and 400 grand a week, and why sometimes a player like Pulisic, who seems to have the potential, so far just hasn't quite hit it.
It's only natural for a player to play a whole lot better when he feels confident and he feels loved. That's a natural reaction. If you feel important, if you feel like you're part of the rotation, if you feel like you're an impactful player for a team, of course, whenever you get out on the field, you're going to play with that level of confidence, with that level of appreciation, with that level of love. And that's only, again, for any professional, when you achieve that level and you achieve that sort of moment in which you feel that appreciation from everybody, fans, teammates, coaches, you know you're an important part of a group, you're going to play better. But when that doesn't happen, you can't just sit back and say, me, my, oh my, I'm not getting playing time, and so what do I do now? So you have to fight. And that's the part that at times I didn't see enough from Christian Pulisic towards sort of in the middle and towards the end of his stay at Chelsea. That fight wasn't quite there as it was early on. And it has been with the national team. And so what's different with the national team? What's happening with the national team that wasn't happening with Chelsea? Well, when he shows up in that locker room, everybody loves Christian Pulisic. The teammates love Christian Pulisic. The coaches love Christian Pulisic. The media loves Christian Pulisic. The fans love Christian Pulisic. Everybody's glad that he's there. Everybody's happy. If that's not happening or wasn't happening with Chelsea, I think we saw a different type of attitude and a different type of fight than what we saw early on with that team.
There's one thing for a player that really is a gut punch. When you're driving in the morning and you stop and get your newspaper and the club have just signed a player who plays in your position. How many did they sign? They must have signed two, maybe three. That knocks the stuffing out any player. That's the biggest punch in the guts. When you find out the club are signing a player that plays in your spot, it tells you everything.
Mark, what's your take on it all?
You know, maybe from the outset, Christian Pulisic was overhyped when he came to Chelsea from Dortmund. You know, he came with a big reputation, hadn't really justified that reputation considering he's moving to Chelsea, a massive club in the Premier League, a big European club. And he's had 4 years there, and he's not done badly, but he's not done great. He's done okay, and I think that's Christian Pulisic. He's basically become a Chelsea squad player, a guy that comes in every now and again, does a decent job, but he's never really a match winner, never really the go-to guy. And I think it's an inevitable conclusion to his career at Chelsea that he's moving. You know, and I think they spent so much money last season on so many players that will have to be given a chance ahead of him because that's the way it works in football. That he was going to go, and I think a move to AC Milan is a great move for him. I think, big club in Italy, a club that's got great pedigree. I think, Champions League quarterfinals this year. I think it's a good move for him. Serie A is not the league it was 20, 30 years ago. I think he could be a star in Serie A. I think he could be the player that Chelsea were hoping to get, but in a I won't say an easier environment, but a less competitive environment, because Serie A is not the Premier League, and I think it'll do him good. I think it's a good move, and I think Chelsea have got a fee for him, and they can add it to their financial black hole, which they need to fill quickly. But yeah, I think out of this, Christian Pulisic wins. He's got a good move, and I think he needed a change. He needed to get away from Chelsea in the Premier League.
That's a good point, isn't it, Jules? The fact that this move now is a great litmus test as to where Christian Pulisic is in regards to his quality of football.
Yeah, that's right. We will see. We will see in a different league now. I think I agree with everything the boys said. I mean, we also need to say that there was a lot of changes at Chelsea in the 4 years that he was there. He played under so many different managers. I don't think it's easy for any player, and especially a young player like him. Let's not forget that he arrived as a 20-year-old there. It can't be easy to try to adapt to a manager. Then it changes every 6 months or 8 months or 10 months or just one season. Even some of the managers didn't really have one style of football like definite. So you always trying to adapt to something, to a different formation, a different team, teammates, style, etc. It just can't have been easy, on top of the injuries and the fact that even his own game was evolving at the time because he was so young. But now it's a fresh start. I agree with Mark, that's what he needed. I think he can do well in Serie A and in Milan, but let's see where he plays to start with, because as we've explained at the beginning when the negotiation was starting, that Rafael Leao plays on the left-hand side, which is really Pulisic's best position. I think the idea from Pioli is to play him behind a striker. We don't even know who the striker is going to be either. So let's see where he plays and how Milan play, but certainly on paper like that, it looks like a good move and a really good start that he needed.